to the Pitch of Discontent. This is Owen back again for another guest episode. Joining me through the digital ether, we have Tom from Ceres. Tom, what's up?
Hello, guys. What's happening? Thanks for having me, Owen.
Thank you very much for mediating this connection. What have you been up to today, dude? What's going on?
Nothing really. Just hustling work, really. Just a few interviews, actually. I don't know, pretending I've got like a two real jobs at the moment. I've got the band and then my life outside of the band too. So juggling that, I'd say that is what I'm doing today.
Nice. We love a good juggle.
But happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Thank you. What do you do for work? What's the other job?
I'm a designer. So started off as a graphic designer, but moved into sort of like fashion design as well. So
wow, okay.
Yeah, work in the kind of skate youth fashion kind of area.
Sick.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good. Been doing that for years. So that's why I've designed like all the record covers, everything you see from Ceres just comes from me. So
nice.
that was just like I had to do. I always thought that was like the extension of the band. Like everything is important, including a tiny Instagram post or whatever. Even though I don't actually post Instagram anymore, but I got a team doing that. God bless them. But
got a guy for that. Yep.
I've got a guy for that. Yeah, I'm above all that stuff. No, I'm actually off. I don't have social media and stuff like that, so I just keep that part of the world locked down. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I think it was probably because of the band. I don't know. I would like. Even the positive stuff I would be reading about the band, I'm like, this is just not healthy for me. This is not good for my ego and head. So I got pretty big head anyway, so I just don't need this stuff in my life. So I just like cold turkeyed, I don't know, probably like 5 years ago, and I've never looked back. It's so good.
Ah, man, that is a decision I wish I could make. I've said before to like various guests that the most frustrating part about doing this podcast is like trying to advertise it and get people to listen to it, and like the actual work of it, the prep, the interviews, the editing, all of that stuff's sick. But then as soon as I've got a finished thing and I'm like, all right, now I need to like do a social post and like try and get people to engage with it. Like, yeah, that part I loathe. The actual creative part of it, so dope, sick.
It is. I do hate it too, because it's like, I don't know. This day and age, especially, even like 5 years ago when we were a team, we were doing We're a Team, it was just, it was even different back then. Just now, it's kind of like just to break through, like just to, have an opinion, make some noise. And I guess it's like be heard is just so hard. And like we've got, I know it's so important, but I just don't have it in me to do it. But luckily, I've got like the label and stuff doing it, which is God bless them. But yeah. But I have a definite love-hate for it, because it's kind of like it's client-facing, I guess. Like it's the fan. That's where the fans connect with you. But like I'm also not a part of that, so it's this kind of funny thing. I sort of like speak through it, I guess. But anyway,
that's fair. Anyway. I said this on another episode, but sometimes self-care is saying no to things.
But it sucks. It sucks for like you, and like I'm lucky because I've got the label and the manager who's can do this stuff for me. But if not, then like I have to get back on. Like you have to be a part of it, and it's like it's a non-negotiable. So 100%. I hate that. I do hate that, because it's kind of like you just have no choice. So, but I'm lucky if I just said I just don't, because I literally don't have an account, so I don't know how to do it anymore.
Perfect.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. Yeah, exactly.
Tom, for people who might not be familiar with you, let's do a formal kind of introduction for the people who might have stumbled across this in their algorithm somehow. Could you tell us who you are, what you do, and why we're on the episode today?
My name's Tom Lanyon, and I sing and write songs in a band called Ceres. And we are just about to release our 4th record, could you believe, called Magic Mountain, and then in brackets 1996 to 2022. What a I don't know what dipshit made that record and title up. But I don't know.
Parentheses.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, far out. I'm everything I hated. I'm like, if young Tom could see me now. We are a band from Melbourne, and we've been a band since 2012, I think, and we've put out 3 records before this and had some moderate success, and we're back to have another bite of the apple.
the songs we sing will be everything we ever need. We'll sing so loud the ears start ringing. Yeah, we won't need a single thing.
Beautiful. Love that. Nice and succinct. You're a pro. Look at you.
Yeah,
You've been doing this a while.
Yeah. I read that off my Instagram bio.
Of course. Yeah. Pre-prepared. Yeah. We were talking about this off mic before we kind of hit the formal portion of the show, but I had my first full listen to Magic Mountain this morning, and for reasons that we will dig into over the next few minutes, like it really is the type of record where you need to like invest some time. You need to kind of like block out your schedule to like sit down and listen to it, because you've presented a sprawling 25-track double LP, essentially. A mammoth undertaking, a daunting task, but a phenomenal record to listen to.
Thank you, man.
So you're very welcome. So let's start there. You decide after a few years to bring Ceres back. What was the conversation, I guess, with you internally and then externally with your bandmates to do an album of this size?
Good question. I think everyone, even my label and management, have been like, and band going, why did we do this?
Yeah, are you sure you want to do this, Tom?
Yeah,
like, yes.
I'm like 100%. I remember I wrote to my producer, longtime producer and friend Tom Bromley. He plays in the band Los Campesinos. He's from the UK. Great
band.
Love that band. Favorite band. And their new record's so good. And their new record was actually mixed by the guy, our friend who mixed We're a Team. So I feel like I've just got Andre Ehrman, he's a legend. He actually mastered Magic Mountain, but I feel like I've got a little link into that Lost Camp record now. I'm so proud of that. Anyway, I digress. The band, because someone asked me the other day in an interview, like, how does this era of Ceres compare to the last like We're a Team era? And I'm like, to me, it doesn't feel like there was no break. I mean, obviously it was COVID, but to me, the band is like writing songs, and so that's what I've always been focused on. So yeah, in 2019 we had all that We're a Team run up, and we were staring down, I think, a regional tour in 2020, and kind of like in hindsight, I think we were feeling a bit burnt out. Like we all had normal jobs, and then this, and We're a Team was a pretty big record for us, so that was like taking up a lot of our time, and I think we were all kind of like sort of dreading a regional tour, perhaps. And it felt to me kind of like music industry, like you got to hit the regionals. That's where they buy tickets. That's where they buy records. And I'm like, oh man, come on! Like I'd love to go play shows for sure, but for what reason? I don't know. So we had all that locked, and then COVID happened, and we were even pre-COVID in 2020. We were in the rehearsal space we were writing some songs. We actually wrote 2 songs. That aren't Magic Mountain. So we were sort of like, cool, we're going to do a record probably that year, 2020, end of the year, or depending on like how the songs turned out, I guess. Yeah. But we had the very like first kernel of it all in 2020, and so we were still on, we were doing it. Then COVID happened, and I moved to the mountain, and that's Mount Dandenong. My partner and I bought a house up there. We're trying to start a family. And just kind of grow up a little bit, I guess, move out of Abbotsford in Melbourne, and just stop being a selfish dickhead. And that still hasn't happened, but we were still a dickhead, maybe less selfish, but probably not. And I had like a studio up there. Like luckily there was this detached room that I turned into a studio, and so I was like, COVID happened, and I was like, cool, I'm just going to write like music. See, let's just keep going. But I was always writing it as, I don't know what, it wasn't kind of serious. It was just me just writing songs, just goofing around. I bought Logic and figured out how to like level up from GarageBand, and figured out a little bit about like 1% my first Logic song kind of practice.
Beautiful, love that.
And I'd write, and I just started writing like lots of songs, like an amazing amount. It was really weird because it's such a different process as well. Sorry, I'm going to be rambling for a while.
No, dude, this is the whole format. Let's go.
Put the kettle on. It was such a different process for me because like pre all that was like from the first 3 records, I'd play an acoustic guitar with my voice memo app and just record it, and then take it to the band however fleshed out it was. I don't know, it could have just been like the first voice memo, or I've like worked on it for a year and then I take it to the band and then we expand upon it. And it was always really cool that. I love that. And I do miss that now because that was such a cool thing where it would sometimes better or worse, but it would take the song off into a new direction. And I'd have like kind of like what I thought the song was. And then, Sean would do a riff over the top, or Frankie mostly would, his tempo and beat would totally drive the song in a different direction. It was really cool. Like that's the magic of like jamming, I guess, and writing songs with people other than just yourself sitting on a chair with a guitar and on the top of a mountain, like Magic Mountain was written. And so I was just writing songs, heaps and heaps of songs, and I think I spoke to Stu Harvey from our label and said, I'm doing all these songs, like, should we put out like a solo record? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, okay. So it turned into a solo record for a minute. I'm like, this is going to be cool. I spoke to my manager, Rowan, and he's like, God bless Rowan, fuck he said this, but he's just like, I don't want to like drag any bands into it. I think it wasn't this band, but he goes, do you remember? Because I'm like, let's do a solo record. We'll do a solo record. He goes, okay. But just, do you remember the Calling All Cars Singers solo record? And I'm going, like, nah. And Rowan's like, exactly. He was just like, no one remembers that shit. I don't think it's Calling All Cars. I hope not. Anyway. Anyway, it was some band with some singer that went solo, and we've seen it so many times. Like, one of my favorite bands is Death Cab for Cutie. I've never heard Ben Gibbard's solo stuff. Like, there's some barrier that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'll probably put a solo record out soon, and everyone will be like, this thing sucks. So it was cool to be like, oh, okay, it's a Ceres record. But then I'm like, but hang on, it can't be a Ceres record because Ceres is voice memos and fleshing stuff out in practice spaces and all this stuff. So got to the point with Ro where he's like, you just got to talk to the band and say, can you do this one by yourself? And I was like, fuck, okay. Because it was like me, so different process. Like I had a bass guitar, I had an electric guitar, I had like a fake drummer in Logic. I kind of had everything I needed, except for the skill and talent. Skill to use Logic and talent to write a song.
Just running on pure will.
It was amazing. I think it was the altitude of the mountain. Like I was going fucking mad out there. And I'd already written like so many songs just as like a hobby kind of thing. Like, obviously that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
But like the restrictions opened up a little bit for us to get down to a pub with the band, and I got the band together, and I said, GY, actually the bass player, said he was quitting the band. I said, like, oh, fuck, okay. And I was like, and also, can I write this next one by myself? I kind of like told the story I just told you, like, I wanted to do solo, but the label's saying do the Ceres thing. And the band was so sick. They were just like, okay, just, make it good. And I'm like, okay, I'll try I'll try really hard. And I did try really hard. So it was funny. We've been gone for so long that GY bass player had quit the band, and then he's rejoined the band now, and like no one even knows.
It must have been that good. It was like, I got to get back in.
That's what I think. He hit one knee. He goes, "Wow, what are you guys doing later? Should we jam? Should we go on tour?" I'm like, "Fuck off, dude." But no, we welcome him back with open arms. We love him so much. He's the heart and soul of the band. So I can't remember what your question was, man. But that was the impetus of it all, and how I became to write. Well, not why the song. I'll get to why the record's 25 songs, but just how like the process was of writing songs up until then.
Am I helping? Would you tell me? Say when you get home, it's not for nothing. All is hurting, God is punishing. Hate yourself sometimes, but you deserve. You had 6 short weeks of life in you, and then they took it all away. It's not fair.
So I guess like building off that, like you're away in isolation, you're putting together this big mass of material, right? Like you're just kind of freestyling, just riffing off the dome, writing songs. At what point does it start to take shape as a record? At what point do you start to think of a title, think of some imagery? When does it start to shape itself into the record that we have now? And how did you go about shaping that process? Was that mostly you? Did you bring the band in at that point?
It's such a good question, man. Because I don't really know. I don't even really remember when I called it Magic Mountain. it was all me. Unfortunately, this whole thing's just been the one big egotistical just trip for me. So please enjoy. Please, like, if no one likes it, it's like I'm to blame for sure.
Yeah, you're out front taking all
I know.
shots.
It's wild. I mean, it is wild. I'm like, oh shit. Okay, no, I hope people like this thing. God damn, it is way too long. I know that much. No, so that was a cool point. Good question, because when I moved up to the mountain, I was writing the songs that I was just like up until that point of like seeing the band and saying, hey, I want to do this by myself. It was crazy, like food for songwriting, because it was fuel, I guess, for songwriting, because I used to live up on the mountain. I didn't realize like I kind of like had moved home, and just this like nostalgia, this huge wave of nostalgia. Like I didn't actually live in a town where I did, but it was like it was 10 minutes away. It's still on top of a mountain, but so yeah, this big wave of nostalgia hit me. I was like, whoa, holy shit! Like this is why I think that's why those early songs came like really quickly and like a lot. Like I think I had like 50 songs by then. Like it was crazy. Jesus. Like this thing could have been this could have been a quadruple album. So not all good, but 50 songs nonetheless. And we'd never done that before. Like I'd never done that. Like Ceres, it's not a rule, but it's just by we're not prolific. So I think we've basically put out every song we've ever written. Besides, maybe there's a B-side off We're a Team that we won't, I don't think, ever release, just because the subject matter's not that good. But yeah, I think that's the only one sort of sitting in the wings that we could ever like put on something. Like it's weird. Wow. But this record's got like a million, just because I think the process was I was so excited about the process. And of lockdown, I could sit down every day and make it my goal to like write a song that day or something. But the other thing is like I need reasons for records to be, especially to your question, like how does it start shaping into a record? I need like a hook to the record. Like I need it to be, drag it down as you like is like fucking don't be depressed or try and like claw yourself out of stuff. We're a Team's like falling in love with someone. And this I needed. You're right. Like something had to start coalescing for me to feel like an album as well. Because otherwise I just wouldn't put it out. Like we wouldn't. I'd just say, well, that was a weird couple of years. I wrote so many songs, but like, let's get back in the rehearsal space. Yeah. And we'll write a whole new record or something. Because I feel like every time, and I'm not saying it anymore, but every time we put out a record, I'm like, what else I'd write about? It's a weird thing. I'm like, I've just exhausted myself on this album. I don't think there's like other shit to sing about, which is so naive because obviously life keeps going, stuff keeps changing, things happen to you. And it's just, for me, just like good fodder for like writing songs. So I got the okay for the band. I'm like, cool, okay, well, this is an album, sick. What's it going to be? I'm like, oh, it's a nostalgic album about moving home. How cool! Like, we'll call it Magic Mountain, and because there's a song in the third song of the album. It's called 1997, and originally on the Logic demo, that was called Magic Mountain, and that's like an important song on the record. It's kind of like the opening to me, it feels like the opening song, even though there's two songs before it. But the first song is kind of like, it's almost like foreshadowing for the rest of the record. And then there's a little like intro song, and then there's 97. That's like the first time you hear a snare and stuff. So it's like, to me, like, it's like, oh, okay, it's opening the book. We're fucking in this record now. So I wrote that and there was a line, there's a fire on top of Magic Mountain. I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's definitely something. There's something like bigger there than the song. So this could be, and it's about a memory of me and my brother sort of fleeing a fire that was up there in 1997. Sorry, excuse me. And there was a fire truck coming over the hill, and I heard on the radio. We were like really young. I think I was only probably 10 or something, and heard a radio. 10, yeah, and I heard someone on the radio, a fire truck, saying it's coming over the top of Magic Mountain, which was like a colloquial name for one of the hills in the mountain. Yeah. I remember thinking, Magic Mountain, like there's a kid. I remember as a kid going, Magic Mountain, wow, I didn't know that was called that. For some reason, it stuck with me the whole time. Didn't think about it for about 20 years. Moved back to the mountain, drove like down the hill where the fire was. And like, it just all came back to me. I was like, holy shit, ran home, wrote that song, realized I was onto something. I think like maybe we're onto a record here. So then that happened. And I'm like, okay, cool. Went all the way up to Sun Shining, which is a song, I don't even know what track it is on the record, 105 probably. And that was kind of the end of the record. I'm like, sick, we're done. And then probably I was like stoked. It was like a happy, nice ending of a still kind of long record. I think it's like 14 songs at the time or something. Or
Yeah.
And then that nostalgia feeling got replaced with a bit of grief because my partner and I were trying really hard to have babies and we were just not working out for like 4 years. We finally got pregnant and then 6 weeks later had a miscarriage. And that was all up on the mountain. And so that was, I was like, there's this next song off the record is called Holly Hill. And that was like the day I found out I wrote that song. And I'm like, fuck, okay, this record's not finished yet. I've got more to say. So then just sort of went into a bit of a grief spiral, I guess, and wrote the rest of the record, and then kind of climbed out of it into, out of like, there's a song called Realm, me climbing out, and then 1996 is like an explosion of just like, come on, man, like get your shit together and just like get living again. And then we ended up having a baby, and then the last song on the record, Viv, is me singing her a song in my living room, and she's there plucking the guitar strings and stuff. So we just thought like that was just like such a nice way to finish the album. So that's when I knew I'd finished a record, and then like the next day I knew I hadn't finished a record. We're only halfway through. And then I was like, I felt to like pull it apart and make it one record. So to make it a 10-song record out of that, just to me felt like kind of lying for some reason. Like I've contrived this thing now. Where I'm like, well, nah, here was the record and here is another one. And there's no way I wanted to do 2 records. Like, fuck that. I don't want to, I don't even really kind of like calling it a double LP. Like, I know it is, but like, I just like you said, like this sprawling, long body of work. I'd like to, like, I'd love people to listen to it all the way through. I know it's a slog, and like I said before, offline, but it's, it's a feel like you're climbing a mountain just trying to listen to it. But I think it's worth it when you get to the top.
I know you wanna know. Can't help but hide the wall. I call your telephone. Just want you all alone. Just want you all.
I have so many points to kind of jump off.
Sorry.
No, dude, please. This is your episode. This is your time to talk about this stuff. But I think for me, like, I have always been a big lover of books and reading. I have a literature degree, for whatever that's worth. And to me, like, this has the thematic scope and almost kind of structure and form of a novel, of a story, right?
So sick.
And the point that you made about 1997, it's one of the songs that I had marked down here to talk to you about, because it is an interesting point of being kind of track 3 of the record, but almost the formal start of the record.
Yeah.
You have that opening sample of nature sounds that kind of swirls and builds into the track proper. And like you say, that's where the first like live instrumentation really kicks in. So it really kind of does announce itself as kind of like the beginning of the record. So in a way, the first 2 songs almost kind of work like a foreword, or like an introduction, and then you start at like chapter 1, and it kind of progresses. And then to your point about kind of building narratively to this kind of summit, in the hero's journey, like the point of like maximum loss, where the hero kind of has to like reassess and complete the final struggle and like learn something about themselves. Like you've got all of these kind of narrative beats working in this record. So knowing that little bit of context, the lore, as the kids say, I think is kind of crucial, because you can listen to it from front to back and go on a journey with you. You can hear it in the lyrics, you can hear it in the music, you can see almost the foreboding of what's coming, the grief and the loss, and then how you kind of struggle your way through it. So I don't even really have a question out of that. I think it's sick. So
well, dude, I could listen to you talk about that all day, because that's like such a. I love doing. I always being pressed is so, and people writing about a record. I sort of get told a record that I didn't know or forgot, I guess, like that. That was such a nice point. Thank you, man. I'm so stoked you got all that because my mum's an English teacher and I loved reading as a kid as well. So narrative driven things are amazing. And I mean, it's kind of a concept record, I guess. You listen to, if you do listen to it from start, it is chronological almost. So if you do listen from start to finish, you kind of can get a story out of it, which is always super important to me. And that's why, like, I guess picking that apart and rebuilding it as one record just would feel disingenuous to me. Like it's not. I don't know. I'm just lucky that people agreed to do it.
Well, like the label said. That literary metaphor a little bit further, like it would be like presenting someone with a novel and then finding out that there's like whole pages ripped out of it. You know what I mean?
Fully.
So you would be
absolutely.
You'd be jumping from like bit to bit, and you'd be like, "Wait, that doesn't connect. What the fuck happened in the middle?" So
totally,
I
exactly
totally get that.
Yeah, no. So I mean, man, I'm so stoked you felt that while listening to it because it was just such. Yeah, I was trying, not even actually, not trying to do it, but it ended that way because of obviously what had happened in the middle of making it, and I'm like, so. And if all I need to do is put the songs in chronological order and you hear me climbing out of that depths up to the top of the mountain. So, I just can't, just the number one rule, just stuff cannot be contrived. Do not make it feel contrived. Like, please, if I just get a whiff of like anyone not meaning something, but saying it, in music especially, because I think it's so personal and actually it affects me. Like the bands I love to listen to, it affects me a lot. If there's any kind of like tomfoolery in there, I'm just like, nah. I just like, it's like what's it called? The third wall. What is it called? When you break that, when you like look at the camera and you kind of like you break the illusion straight away. So I don't necessarily like that. I love you just got to mean it. That's kind of why like we didn't say anything for 5 years. I mean, everyone's kind of like, where were you? And it's like, we had nothing to talk about. Yeah. I'm not going to be like, hey guys, I'm writing a record about being on a mountain. And it's like, oh, hey guys, I had a miscarriage. Like none of that shit. It doesn't, I don't know. So I do like a Q&A thing on an email and I just said, someone Australian writer's block, and they asked me how I deal with it, and I'm like, I love writer's block. I just think you just don't have anything to say, and then so don't force it. If you don't even, worst thing a band can do is say something if they've got nothing to say. Yeah, because it's just noise.
Not
it's just
everything
noise.
Has to be content. You know what I mean?
No.
Like sometimes shutting the fuck up and just existing is like helpful, and can put you in the right state of mind for when that inspiration, that urge to create does strike. Because if you keep filling your life with this need to do this or do that or whatever the expectation might be, you don't have any space. You don't have any room for the spontaneous to kind of bubble up inside of you, because that's where the really good shit comes from.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I don't want me to get in the way of like someone's experience of the band as well. I kind of like grew up idolizing bands like Brand New and I was coming from that early emo scene and or the probably third wave emo or whatever it was in the early 2000s and those guys just like, or mid 2000s I guess for Brand New, but they like hardly ever did interviews. They got out of the way of the art, I think, and I always loved that because I loved the mysteriousness of it. I love like wanting to know more about a band and not, it's not all just given up to them. Like I just feel like bands just give stuff away way too easy nowadays. And I've always kind of like not liked giving lyrics in there's lyrics in this album on the vinyl anyway, but I used to like not like sort of like writing out lyrics because it's like, well, just listen to the song. Like you don't need to like, I don't know. To me, that felt like kind of giving the keys to the record away. Just like here's it, just listen to it, and like if you get a word wrong, cool, because it's what you think it is, and it means something to you, in that way. So less is more. 100.
And I was obsessed. And I was
to keep on the literary theme, like one of my favorite authors, like probably my favorite author of all time, is Cormac McCarthy, and he was like notoriously like curmudgeon-y and just like hated journalists, hated doing any kind of interviews, was like a bit of just like a recluse, and like, you know, he had like a small circle of friends and he like liked to do his thing, but like he just had no interest in the mythology of him as an author and as a person. And in the rare instances that he did do interviews and he was like pushed to try and like expand or explain, he was just kind of like, the fuck does it matter? He's like, it's all there, it's all there on the page. He's like, and that's for you to like figure it out and theorize and have feelings and opinions. He's like, that's not on me, that's on you. He's like, you can go do that. I've already done the work. And I always respected that, to just be like, yeah, fair enough.
I just don't want to like let people down. I just want to be I want to respect our fans as much as they respect us. And so I don't want to put content out there that might let someone down and they go, this band sucks, because it's happened to me. It's like we've toured with so many international bands, some of my absolute heroes, and you walk away from those tours going, those guys suck. And it just like ruins the band. It's like, I want to help. I want this band to be helpful and not at all a stress in people's lives. And I just feel like the more content and shit you're putting out there, just like someone's just going to have a bad time with it. So just, listen to the music and I'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah, perfect. I don't want you to shut the fuck up because we still have some time left.
Sorry, no, we'll keep going. I won't promise I'd say way too much stuff, but I guess metaphorically.
So if I think about a particular point in the record where I was really kind of, locked in or kind of focused on what was happening, like the whole record from front to back is incredible. I've enjoyed all of the singles that you've put out, but there's a particular 3-track run towards the back half of the record, from Doom to Mercury in the Next Room into In the Valley, which was already released as a single. That 3-track run for me, I don't know, I hit like kind of an emotional high, or it had like the most kind of resonance to me. In particular, like Mercury in the Next Room has you kind of playing with this motif of nursery rhymes and kind of, balladry and stuff. So can you talk to me about that, like kind of how you see those songs connecting to each other in this linear storytelling kind of mode that we've been talking about?
So I think you said that part too, because an argument for the length of the record in my eyes is that you can wallow in a feeling. You can stay in a feeling longer over multiple songs. Whereas if we do the 10-song record, then it's the sad song, 2/3 through the record. It's the acoustic song at the end or something like that, where you can get emotional punch in a quieter way. But that's it, because we're a rock band, so we got to be up. And I like, more and more I get older, I resonate with that half of that half of that record 100%, so much more. And especially those songs you said, and it goes into, to me, there's another song, Apollo, after In the Valley, and then Realm, and that's like the bottom of the barrel kind of how I'm feeling. So I think I'm stoked you felt the emotion there. Doom into Mercury, and then the nursery rhyme thing's really weird, because I definitely didn't mean, like, because it's, there's miscarriage and there's trying to have babies and stuff, and I'm like, what the fuck? I've like obviously I didn't have a baby then, so I wasn't singing nursery rhymes. But isn't it creepy that like there's, even in Common Everlasting, there's a song called Common Everlasting, and there's a same thing, like the melody is kind of like is nursery rhyme-ish, and it's spooky for me. It feels like kind of like there's a ghost in there or something like that. Wow. Mercury, so those 3 songs especially, and then into Apollo and then Realm at the end, to me feels like it's like me climbing out, because the song actually ascends as well, which is so cool, because none of that was like, I'm not like, okay, I'm going to write an ascending up song that feels a bit more joyous and like I'm realizing something, and then I'm going to, like, that all just happened, and I just in a row. Doomed is a dark one, because that's when, my partner, that's more about my partner and I kind of like turning on each other with the stresses of everything that's going on, and that sucks. Like that's really grim when that happens. Mercury is kind of like, I don't know, I remember sort of feeling really sort of despondent and almost given up, helpless maybe, and almost sort of like went back to, there's a nostalgia tip through that, like kind of like I was regressing into a child again there, just through dealing with stuff. Hence probably why there was a nursery rhyme element to it. And then In the Valleys, that's a grim that one. That's probably like one of my favorite songs I've ever written. That one, yeah, that was a big mix of everything. Because we're on the mountain, and in the winter, you hardly see the sun. It's pretty crazy. You kind of like you need like vitamin D. Basically, you're like in a valley where the sun's going over, and there's tall trees, and it like grazes the canopy, and you kind of never see the sun. And I just thought, like, yeah, that's a really dark spot. Like in some of those valleys on the mountain, like you never see the sun, and so that was me at like the bottom of the barrel. Just thinking about heaps of shit. Just there's a lot of references in that song about like childhood, but like my dad and obviously the baby and my partner and my life. But like it's for such a short song. There's only two verses in it, but yeah, there's a lot in that song. So I love it. I love it. Love it.
You split my lip, you kicked my shin, you told me no one's coming back again. You let me in, you touched my skin, you said I'll meet him when it's time again.
I definitely resonate with that second half of the record a lot more, and maybe that's because I'm morose and that's all the dark, like grim shit on the record. I don't know, but it definitely spoke to me in a very kind of like resonant way. And I think the journey that it takes you on, like through those tracks into Apollo, like you mentioned, and then like 1996 Ceres FO, like that's probably the most like jubilant the record gets, and probably my favorite song on the record, if I'm being honest. Like it's just a really triumphant closer to really kind of bring everything home, and kind of really does make it full circle from like Rhododendron and 1997. I guess, like, how did you feel when you wrote that? Because if this is all happening linearly and you're writing these different things, like when you wrote 1996, were you just like, hot damn, that's a good one? Like,
yeah, I think I remember talking to Tom Bromley, and he just said, like, I knew I wanted to have a song. I didn't. I was like, Dana and I got pregnant again, and it stuck, and now we've got a daughter called Viv. And I knew, like, I thought the record would be done, and it takes 9 months to have a baby. I'm like, no, I'm not still working. Like, and I was up to realm, so I'm not still fucking. And I'm jubilant because I'm pregnant. But then I sort of knew, like, if we get to the point where the Viv is around, then I played this one song to her, and that I wrote for while Danes was pregnant. That would be such a nice closer. But we had that in mind, but definitely thought, no way, because we're done with the record, because I'm writing 1996 right now. And that, to me, like, I'm so to feel that in 1996 too, because that's exactly how I felt. I was jubilant, but I was also kind of like, it's like a pep talk. I'm sort of just telling myself to just like, dude, get the fuck up, like, stop being, especially out of that, that in the valley. Yeah, it's like you climb out of the valley and then you're on top of the mountain with 96. That's kind of how I felt. It reading, I guess. Yeah, and I remember talking to Tom Bromley, and I was just like, okay, I think I'm done. And he's like, it feels like 1996 feels like you've finished, like you've closed the chapter, you're done. And I was like, okay, well then I'm fucking done. And I'm like, 25 songs long. And I'm like, holy shit, okay, well we're done. And yeah, we had heaps of fun with that song with like brass and strings, and I love that. really, really proud of that song. One of those songs I kind of like feel like I didn't, I listened to it and I'm like, I felt like I didn't write that. Like, I don't know. I
Like
just
an
wasn't.
out-of-body experience or something.
Yeah, I'm just like really proud of the melody's really sick, and I don't know. And it's just the whole song's just me telling me to shut up and fucking stand up and keep going. And I just thought that was just such a cool to whinge for like 24 songs before that, and then to be like, come on, man, shut up, let's go. Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
The perfect emo record, like 24 songs of wallowing, and then like one motivational pep talk at the very end. Beautiful.
It's the opposite of a Millencolin record, where it's like it's 13 pep up songs and then like the ballad at the end.
The one sad ballad.
Yeah.
And you've even got the strings, like perfect.
Exactly. So, and I called it 1996 because I was like, that's before the bad luck started. How I kind of thought about it, like the fire started it all, and that's kind of what started the record. So I'm like, all right, let's just go back to the start. And I kind of I wanted it to almost loop. And like we're just stuck in this loop, and you just keep listening to this goddamn record for the rest of your life, like I have had to do for the last 5 years. I can't listen to it anymore, but it's so cool talking about it because it's like I'm like, oh yeah, like I forgot about all this stuff that I was hoping to convey, and I'm so glad you're picking up on it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, that's all the kind of main questions that I had to talk about. So I want to close with one final question, and even though I already had this written down in my notes, I'm kind of like thinking on the fly here, but we talked about like not wanting to let fans of the band down, let listeners down, but also not wanting to kind of project your own interpretation or your own one way to listen to the record, right? So as like a closing question, if there's one takeaway that you would hope people get from listening to Magic Mountain, what would that be?
Well, I think hope. I think just get through it. You got to just get through the stuff you've got to go through, and it will get better. I think. I remember I wrote out 4 words. What each kind of I gotta find them. Where were they? God, I'll never find them now. The last word was absolution, is like vindication or something like that. Which is the feeling of hope realized, I guess. I think hope is the best word. An album like Drag Down in You is just like there's the hopeless, like there's nothing in that you can sort of. It's super helpful. I love it. It's super helpful for people and stuff like that. But it's just it ends on baby's breath, and it's just like you finish that record and go, okay, wow, that sucks. Thing. In an emotional sense, it's hard work, and so is this album especially. Like this is, I didn't know what I was talking about in Drag Down You compared to Magic Mountain. Like I went through some gnarly shit on this album to get to where we are, and I wanted to finish on 96 and Viv. That to me is like such a hopeful, nice way of ending records. And so, long story short, man, it's hope.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a beautiful point to end on. We might wrap things up there for the main portion of the show. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Subscribe now to the Pitch of Discontent Patreon to receive access to extended cuts of our bonus episodes, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content, monthly Patreon-only episodes, member-only votes, the TPD community chat, and much more. Go now to patreon.com/TPDpod and join for as little as $5 a month. That link again is patreon.com/TPDpod. Thanks for watching the show.